Hello, my name is Fernando, and today I'm gonna talk about how a utopian society eventually becomes a dystopian one. So first of all, let's start by defining what a utopia and a dystopia are. A utopian society is a place where everything is perfect. In contrast, a dystopian society is a place which has been corrupted by injustice, and the people living in it are usually suffering a lot. Some examples of utopias that have turned into dystopias are communism and the Soviet Union, where individuality was lost and repression was a common practice. Also, we have the ruling of Camp Kruger that ended up in millions of executions and people dying of starvation. So, first of all, now let's look at some utopian ideals. First, we have justice, or the illusion of having it, of everyone getting what they deserve. Second, we have absolute equality, which is basically providing everyone with the same resources and opportunities. There's a lack of self in there because everything is the same for everyone. You cannot improve in any place. You just gotta stay the same as everyone because otherwise it will be unequal. Third, we have perfectionism. Perfectionism, or the idea of it, the ideal that's perfectionism is the ideal that someone has of how everything can be the best for everyone. And similarly, we have an obsession. Obsession, obsession is related to perfectionism. This is what drives utopian advocates insane because it becomes the law to be perfect, and we know perfection is not possible. Mostly because many people have different views on what perfection is, and some of those views are not pretty at all. Also, we have futurism, which is dreaming of a place advanced with technology, all that stuff, like just thinking of the future. There and ultimately we have the finish line. Most people see a utopia as the finish line, that it cannot be better. It has to be the law till the end of time. But I think that's a wrong way to think about it because society is ever changing. It changes over and over with time, and people have different requirements. They need more things, they need to express more. So looking at it as a finish line basically takes that away from them. Some main causes that cause a utopian society to become a dystopian one are absolutist ideals and aversion to change, which do not allow a utopia to change and be a better society for people. Also, forced application, even if the idea of a utopia is good, when when anything is forced, it gets resistance back. So no one's gonna take what's being forced to them because they feel like it doesn't belong to them. So they're gonna resist, and as a result, many people die, and there's a lot of conflict and death. Yeah. Also, lastly, the lack of power limiting mechanisms. Mostly like the constitution, checks and balances, and all that stuff. These utopias do not take into account that people are greedy. They have a desire for power and control, and we gotta prevent that by having a system that can, basically a system against ourselves and our government and our community, because that keeps us each other in check. Yeah. So in conclusion, a utopia becomes a dystopia where there is too much control being put in the people and not enough room for change. In my opinion, I think room for silence and change is important because it allows us to see what's right and what's wrong. It allows us to think more clearly and think of what's better for everyone, not what's better for one person, because the ideal of perfection of one person might not be the ideal of someone else. So working collectively and allowing space for arguments, not conflicts, arguments, like sane arguments, and be able to work collectively, I think are the keys to a better society. Not a perfect one, but a better one. Thank you for listening.